The Resonate project is a 18-month digitisation and volunteer project. The main project is to transcribe and digitise the sound collection that we have here, which features over about 256 tapes. Hi, I'm Michael Ruddy. I work as the Resonate project officer.
My name is Lily and my role within the Resonate project is as a digital volunteer.
Hi, I'm Laura Crawford. I was one of the volunteers in the Resonate project.
My name's Sue. I'm a volunteer at the archive.
My name's Stephanie. I'm the archivist for Leonard, Cheshire. I'm managing the Resonate project, which is digitising our historic sound collection. Our sound collection is around 50 years old and is a collection of old reel-to-reel tapes, cassettes and CDs. Leonard, towards the end of his life, was very concerned with making sure that there was a repository of information, and he was very concerned with remembering the people that had helped him along the way. And in order to save those contents, we needed to get them digitised. So it's enabled us to save these tapes that he'd kept for so long and we've kept for so long, and actually save their contents for the future.
But of course, with 24 disabled people in the house, you can imagine that we were in to put it mildly, a muddle, because I had no idea how to run a house.
I think focusing specifically on Resonate, to hear Leonard's voice and to hear his speeches just brought everything to life so much more. I had a sense of who he was as a person from doing my PhD, that he was a charismatic person, but it wasn't until I'd heard some of his speeches during this project that you got a real sense of how he did manage to win people around and get them invested in what he was trying to do with the Cheshire Homes and with the charity more broadly. And I thought it was really fundamental that these kind of resources were saved, as they're so crucial to the history of the disability rights movement and about Leonard Cheshire, the person himself.
So I called on the district nurse and she said, "Oh, it's perfectly simple. I'll show you what to do." And so she gave me what she called a concentrated course of nursing in 3 evenings.
I've learnt that Leonard is very committed. He doesn't let a lot get in his way, especially funding. It really doesn't seem to faze him. If he doesn't even have a single penny, he's quite determined that I'm going to open this house and I can get people on board. It's not an issue. I can, get the funding. People will jump on board. And quite clearly they did.
It's been really interesting just to see what we've got, because remember, before this project started, we knew we had 257 recordings, but we didn't actually know what was on there.
There was one transcription that I did, which was with a volunteer who was involved in setting up one of the first homes in Cornwall. At that moment in time, the charity didn't have this big presence, so she was just kind of seeing what it was all about and just happened to get involved. And actually this person's had a significant impact on the charity, but they were just so matter of fact about their involvement, which was just so endearing.
A friend of mine rang up and said, would I help get a house ready for a Cheshire home? I had no idea what a Cheshire home was, in fact very ignorant, except that of course I remembered Leonard Cheshire. I was to bring an apron and a dustpan and brush and a few old dusters. Mm-hmm. So we set about it, and gradually it took shape.
It really gives a picture of how charities operate on the ground level. I get the impression that Leonard was the ideas person and he just was a bit of an opportunist. And then actually when you dig deeper in the archive, you see this whole other group of people that were the details people that were getting stuff done on the ground. So when you put those things together, you really get a big picture of what was happening in the charity and how things happened.
There was a man who became a friend of Leonard, and the interviewer asked him, well, what are your thoughts of Leonard as a person? And he said, He could quite easily charm the wallpaper off the wall. And I thought that was a brilliant way of describing Leonard, because it's quite true. It's not all been typing and hard work. There has been some fun.
At this point in the project, we've had about over 800 hours of volunteering, which is brilliant, and we've almost transcribed over 200 of the tapes, so we're almost there in terms of reaching our target. And we've had great contributions in terms of our podcast as well. I think the best part of it is allowing volunteers to contribute their own say.
I thought it was really important that I took part in the podcast as part of my volunteering, because I was so excited by what I'd listened to and some of the recordings that I'd found. The first ever transcription I did was titled Leonard Cheshire Speaks on the Nuclear Deterrent and His Experience of Being an Observer at Nagasaki. Now, up until this point, I had no idea about the contents of the recordings in the archive, let alone I would be listening to a frank retelling of the moment an atom bomb was dropped. So you could say I was fascinated by the project from day one.
It all leads back to Leonard Cheshire, and we can reanimate that link with him by listening to these tapes.
I think if I had to say one thing about projects in terms of looking towards the future, it's given some assurance and confirmation, because you look back at and listen to what the founder said. The charity's still doing the work to accomplish the goal that Leonard put out when he founded the charity back in 1948.
Well, sometimes we think, well, we haven't come very far. We have come down a massive highway to where we are today, but that doesn't mean to say we should stop.
The Leonard Cheshire Archive was established in 1985 by the charity's founder. It is home to almost 7,000 items, including 500 audio recordings. Thanks to the generous support from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and the Foyle Foundation, staff and volunteers have been able to digitise and make accessible over 200 of these recordings. To find out more, visit rewind.leonardcheshire.org.